Have you ever wondered how the government attempts to get something? That's something that the presidential candidates or government agencies promise to give you during the campaign period that until now they haven't done, they haven't given you. That promise of a great bridge crossing from one island to another, that promise of a better supply of your needs, like an endless supply of potable water, electricity, or even clothing and food. How do they actually get that for you? In today's podcast, I will be talking about general ideas of the Philippine Republic Act No. 9184, or simply known as the Government Procurement Reform Act of 2003. This is basically the law on how the Philippine government obtains something for the use of the public, or simply for the benefit of the general or specific public. This law or act was ratified in 2003 during the Arroyo administration, and since then has provided specific guidelines on how government projects may be procured. But how were government projects procured or acquired before the passing of the Government Procurement Reform Act of 2003? In 1987, Executive Order No. 292 was signed by President Corazon Aquino, instituting the Administrative Code of 1987. This administrative code was based on the first code with the same name in 1917. It created an outline of how the relationship between the government and the people would be administered through a set of general rules, with the General Procurement Guidelines stipulated in Chapter 13 of the said code. Though of course, it was not called government procurement back then. It was just a mishmash, super general guideline on how the government may obtain things. Most of it, especially infrastructure projects, needed direct approval from the President and the secretaries of agencies that the project is mostly involved in. It is also very short and too general. There were no provisions guiding the public on how exactly they may participate in government projects, or even how exactly they will submit their proposals. Today, government procurement is undertaken through Republic Act 9184. It is clearly defined and better suited for the fast-moving modern world. Unlike its predecessors, the Government Procurement Reform Act of 2003 provides detailed instructions not only to the procuring entity or procuring agency, but also to the participating public. Most importantly, it specifies the governing principles in government procurement, which are the following: transparency, competitiveness, streamlined procurement process, system of accountability, and public monitoring. Any violation of these principles can be a start or a basis of an administrative case against an individual or a group of people who are accountable. A prime example of this is when Philippine National Railways, a government-owned corporation, was accused of the Commission on Audit, or COA, in its annual audit report that 4 of their procurement projects in 2019, worth around 1 billion, has not followed the proper guidelines of RA 9184. Before that, let me summarize how a public competitive bidding procurement process goes. It can be more or less broken down in 6 steps. 1. Invitation to bid, where the project will be advertised, including how the procurement will be undertaken and what requirements the bidders or proposers need to submit. 2. Submissions of bids, the event wherein the bidders or proposers submit their proposals. Those proposals with lacking preliminary requirements will be disqualified. 3. Detailed evaluation, to see whether the bids or proposals submitted are technically and financially complying. 4. Post-qualification, to validate the documents submitted by the lowest complying proposer or bidder. 5. Awarding, wherein the lowest complying bidder or proposer will be informed that their proposal has passed the post-qualification process and to inform the other bidders or proposers of their non-compliance therewith. And lastly is the proceeding and contract execution, which is self-explanatory, I think, is to carry out the project. In COA's report of the Philippine National Railways violation, it stated that the anomaly started in the post-qualification process. The lowest complying bidder, which is a Chinese company, failed to submit certain requirements for validation, and in the discretion of the Bids and Awards Committee, the committee in an agency tasked in carrying out government procurement allowed this and still proceeded to the awarding without pushing the Chinese company to submit the needed requirements. Until now, the issue is yet to be resolved. In some cases, RA 9184 does not need to be completely followed, but only partially. For example, are those procurement projects that have their budgets loaned from foreign entities like the Asian Development Bank or ADB, among others. Prime examples of these are the ongoing infrastructure projects during the current Duterte administration's Build program or BBP program. Most of the projects from this program are loaned from the Asian Development Bank or ADB, which reached a record high of $2.5 billion in 2019. In the same year, 2019, ADB approved its single biggest project financing in Asia to date, the Malolos-Clark Railway Project. You might have heard of this or that. You can search it on Google. This project will use cutting-edge technology to construct a 53-kilometer section of a new railway line connecting Metro Manila to the Regional Business Center in Clark, north of Manila. This project is worth a staggering amount of $1.7 billion or more. After knowing this, it might make you think, is it really okay to borrow this much money from foreign sources? Of course, if implemented properly, the development of the Philippines is very much guaranteed. But at what cost? None of us know how much more the government will continue to accumulate debt, or when the Philippines will ever be able to fully pay its debt. Perhaps the biggest question is it worth it? Well, that is a topic for another podcast. Thank you very much for listening to this monologue. Tell me what you think in the comments. It's never a bad idea to say what you think, since public discourse is one of the most important essences of democracy. If you enjoyed that, leave a like and subscribe. You're always free to unsubscribe if you don't like our future content, but it will really help us a lot. And that is the end of our talk. You can message us in our social media in the description on what you want us to discuss next. We're always looking for more ideas to talk about. Stay tuned for more. Peace.